Hi, Sherry. How you doing?
Great. Nice to see you.
Nice
How
to
are
see you
you?
too. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, of course. Anything for you.
Speaking of doing things for me, what about this remix?
It was really fun, honestly. I love working with you. You're a very talented musician, so it was easy.
Maybe it's too late. I seem to know this place. The smell tastes so familiar.
I have a history for giving little to no direction when I work with people, and I just don't work with people who need direction. So when you said you wanted to do the remix of this song, which I'd like to ask you why this song, when I got it back, I was like, wow, this is amazing. It's such a good translation. It's still the song, but it's obviously yours. Why did you pick this song? What was about Maybe It's Too Late?
It stood out to me as being really catchy, and I heard potential in it to be a little dancier. So, when I hear potential in something, that's what makes me pick a song I want to remix. It's like if I can add my own voice to it or reinterpret it in some way. If a song's already perfect, don't mess with it. Or, I think this song is really amazing as it is, but like when you can hear something, a new twist you can put on it, it's like, some people, I don't think that they pick remixes for the right reasons. It's like, oh, turn this into a dance floor hit, and like I always try to do what's best for the song.
Yeah. No EBM Bohemian Rhapsody. Nothing like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so before this, I knew who you were. Obviously, you're a very dear friend of mine, but even before you were a dear friend of mine, I knew who you were. If someone doesn't know who you are, this is Void Vision's Sherry Very. What would you like to tell them about you? When they listen to this, they're going to get an idea, but I want them to listen to your music if they haven't heard it yet. What are they to expect from Void Vision?
I like to tell people that it sounds kind of like a really depressed Madonna if she was like a fan of Nine Inch Nails and Depeche Mode, and she bought a lot of synths.
I love that.
And didn't know how to dance very well.
I think your dancing is fine, by the way. My dancing is, a weapon of mass destruction. You should go to war over my dancing. But I did want to let everyone know that you do also do a mean Madonna impersonation.
Soon to be full time in Atlantic City.
Soon coming to Atlantic City. You have done other remixes. This is not the only remix you've done. Are any of those something people should check out? Something you're especially proud of?
Yeah, I've actually haven't done as many as you would think, but I've done a couple that were really fun. I guess the most recent one was Bestial Mouth. The whole remix album's pretty good. There's a lot of big names on there. That one I particularly liked because it was just really weird. There was no BPM in it, and it was kind of all over the place, and I had to chop it up a lot just to like give it structure. I was like, how am I going to remix this? So, but I think what I did with it was really cool. Kind of reminds me, I don't know, I feel like there's this sort of weird 90s soundtrack, like Lost Highway vibe to it for some reason. Maybe that's just me. I also did a remix for Technophobia and one for Pop 1280.
Love them.
And yeah, and another one from my friend The Wheel. But I haven't done that many besides that.
Well, there have to be more because you're fantastic at it. When you go to remix a song, even maybe there aren't 100 of them, but of the ones you've done, what do you start with? Where do you start? How do you get the ideas?
I pick out the elements I really love, and I always kind of zero in on certain sounds because my brain is just like that, and I pick out the things I like and I try to focus on those and bring them to the forefront, or I'll just like discard the things that I don't like as much and try to like redo it the way I would have done it, or I don't know. Or sometimes if I just hear a completely different interpretation that I think would be really cool to explore, I'll go with that. It really depends on the track, but yeah. There's a lot of times where I'll hear something and I'm like, oh my God, this would be amazing if you just focused on this element, got rid of this other one. I'm just really good at like arranging things in my head, I guess. I don't know.
But that's like what you just said, right? I think of that even more than a remixer. I think of that as a producer, right? When you hear a song and you go, gosh, I wish there were like more guitar. I wish you had panned this a certain way. That's the production hat, right? Do you have on like a production hat when you do remixes?
I was always really into remixes, and I kind of collected a bunch of them when I was younger. Especially there were so many Depeche Mode remixes and Nine Inch Nails remixes that were really weird, and I want to bring that to the table. I feel like other people, when you ask them to remix something, it's just like, all right, let's put this 4/4 beat to it. And it's like, I like the really imaginative, psychedelic, weird shit that was happening in the 90s is like so removed from the original that like you couldn't even recognize it as just like totally new thing.
Yeah. And you did make this song dancier, but you totally respected the writing of the song. You didn't just like speed it up and throw a beat underneath it. You added a lot of really cool texture. I think you and John Fryer both did an amazing job in retranslating things. I actually named this EP based on you two, the feeling I got from both of those remixes, which is that they were translations, right? So the record's called Translations because it's not like a remix. It's like you heard it and translated it. I guess, and maybe that's what remixes should be. Maybe there is a place for just a like rowdy dance mix sometimes, you know.
I knew you like the slow wallowing, painful ones, though. So I don't want to go too far from your style, but I did want to like add some of my own flair for the dance floor. You have these nice, really moody tracks, and I didn't want to like take away from the moodiness or the emotion. So I still wanted to retain that, you know.
I think you once described my musical style as Xanax in a bathtub. Like music.
I love that.
Pop Xanax and lay in a bathtub.
Like you and I are very similar, but like I think with my music, I'm like a little more faster BPM, and when I hear things like I'm just like more hyper than you, I guess. Yeah. So I heard the track and I was like, I want to speed this up.
It's like the same girl, right? Our music's like the same girl, but she went to the club and that's where Sherry was. And then she went home and she's like, my life is terrible.
The one that snorted coke and you're the one that did Xanax and went home and cried.
Exactly. Have you been out anywhere shopping, drugstore, the mall, the dentist's office, and heard a song and thought, I could remix this and it would be amazing? Just like out there, wild, makes no sense type of track.
Like most modern pop music is just really bad in terms of the production and the sounds. I'm not saying I hate pop music because I like a lot of older pop music, but modern pop music is terrible to me. And when I hear it, I just want to take the nice melody and bring that into a different kind of production where the instruments are more important. And like, I just feel like everything is so crushed in terms of, and compressed and like just I don't know. Yeah, I'm always hearing things I want to redo. Trust me.
Well, on that, a lot of that comes from the world we live in right now, where like record labels, first of all, are not what they used to be, and they don't want to take risks or develop people, right? So rather than taking a risk on something that's a little weird or produced a little bit differently, or an album that sounds different, it makes a lot more sense to replicate something that is already doing well.
Like in the 80s, there was a lot more risk taking. In the 90s was even wilder in terms of like production style and what was, able to be played in the mainstream. It was like just a wider variety. And everything is just so homogenous now. It sucks.
I think the cool music definitely still exists. There might even arguably be more music being put out just because more people can record. It's just that it's hard to find, isn't it? Like
not on the radio.
We're spoiled for choice, maybe, and then the stuff that's pushed to the top is maybe not the best of the bunch. We've got the McDonald's floating to the top of the restaurants here sometimes.
For sure.
So you are producing new music, Void Vision music, not remixes. You're working on it now. What is that going to be like? What are you doing? Fuck what everyone else is doing. What are you doing?
What I am doing is very slowly and surely working on all this stuff I've been working on for a while. it will definitely be better production wise because that first album was just very, very DIY, and I did not know a lot. I mean,
But it's
think
good.
It sounds good, but I do not. When I listen to it, I'm like, ugh.
But you can see through that, right? You can see to the songwriting on that record. It's a great song. It's the many great songs, right?
Yeah, thankfully that's what gave it its lasting power, I guess. But when you can connect to people on an emotional level, or it's created very loyal fan base, I guess, which is amazing to me.
Every time I see you out here in New York, it's packed, right? Everyone's like, Sherry's in town, and they're stoked to see you.
A lot of people actually thought I was from New York because I was there all the time. Feels like more of a hometown to me sometimes than Philly. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm an East Coaster.
You can tell. Listen to the accent.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, you weren't blessed with the Nevada non-regional dialect. So, speaking of the accent situation, I realize when I hear myself doing these things where I'm talking to you, everything sounds like a newscast. I sound like I'm about to tell you what the weather's going to be tomorrow because of the non-regional dialect. It's like, I don't sound like a friend. I sound like a professional.
You do. You sound fantastic. When I listen to my recordings, I'm like, oh my God, I sound like I need a nose job.
No,
it sounds like nasal and weird. And I'm like, why am I pronouncing that like this?
That's
so
personality.
Cringy.
That's personality, Shay. You can't buy that. Okay, you're going on tour too, right?
It's not my tour, but I am playing a few dates with Spike Hellas on their spring tour in the U.S.
Absolutely.
So
they're amazing.
They're fantastic. I love them. And they're cool as people, so everyone better come out and support them.
And it's harder to tour. So like if you love Sherry's music, or if you go and listen to Void Vision right now and you're like, man, that's amazing, you need to go out to the shows. You need to buy some merch because like you got to keep these people coming to your town. Otherwise, we're just not going to come because how could we make that happen if you don't support us, right?
I'll just say planning tours and shows is not easy. Lugging around your gear, dealing with all the bull crap.
We went to Germany last year. Sherry and I went to Germany. We played Plage Noir. We played Wave Gothic Treffen. And the shows were absolutely amazing. We met some amazing people. These were our first shows. We're playing these festivals as some of our first shows, thanks to Schubert and, Eric and Bill. It was amazing. And Eric was a fantastic tour guide when we got to, was that in Leipzig? Yeah, it was for Leipzig, right?
Yes.
And that was amazing. However, this has nothing to do with them. This has to do with what it's like now for bands our size. We did not make any money. We did that because it was fun. We did it because we wanted to play music together and we love each other. So, we both have jobs, right? Because if we didn't, how could we do that,
Talking about, I'm independently wealthy off my music. I don't know about you.
Yeah. You've done amazingly for yourself. You've got this beautiful history of music and you're about to put out more music. I was talking to one of my friends about the concept of not being beholden to anyone, because you aren't. I think you do work with a label, but you don't have to answer to anybody. There is a freedom in having a day job, right? Or in doing other things that make money outside of music, because you don't have to make money with the music. You can kind of do whatever the fuck you want. At least for me, that's how I feel. I feel like I don't have to do anything anyone wants. I don't care if people like this.
For me, having a job, I'd say, it makes it easier to survive for sure. It just it takes away all my time, which stinks because that's part of why I haven't put out a lot of material. It's because I've been consumed by that, among other crazy things in my life, which I won't get into. Yeah, it's really difficult balancing. It helps and it hurts, It's like if I didn't have a job, I could go on lots more full tours and maybe, get better, payment if I had more steady gigs. But at the same time, I don't know if I want to be fully dependent on that. I think the pandemic proved how unstable the field of, music and art is.
So I'm not saying in any way that I wouldn't want to just do music for a job. It's just that the level, right? The 80s or 90s, you sold 10,000 records, right? And you could make it a living for a while. You could do that as your job. But that level
Yeah.
is so high now.
You know, labels used to give you money and support, and now all the labels are owned by these mega rich people, and they just only want pop stars. You know, it's like mute records type labels and smaller ones just don't exist or have any funding to give artists anymore. It's like totally different playing field.
Yeah, like some of these great labels still exist, but they have full rosters, right? They're not
Yeah.
taking anyone right now, or how are they, again, it's this like sea of people, right? How do they find you? There's like 80 million releases, before they just go down the street to a club and go, wow, these guys are really great. Or my friend told me these guys are really great, It's got to be really hard for the true amazing independent labels too now to find new people or to take care of all the people they have.
Yeah, things have really shifted just away from record labels more towards like social media and doing everything yourself now, and which is exhausting, especially if you have a full-time job. Like, I don't have time to be a constant content creator.
Well, I think we've talked about this in private before about how both of us are somewhat I wouldn't say I'm aggressively antisocial. I don't hate people, but I find it very difficult to socialize for fun. I like going to shows, I like being around people, but I don't like spend my free time just doing social events, getting to know people, networking, stuff like that. That's not my jam. But that's what is hard for social media for me, is how do I engage people in a way where it's genuine, where I'm not putting on this fake thing to get more people to talk to me and to, bring in more followers. Because, the algorithm's like, you got to do pictures of your face. You've got to have videos this long. You've got to use these tags. You got to do this stuff. And this is, most of this shit is not stuff I would ever do. Like, I only take pictures of myself and videos of myself because of this, right? Because otherwise, I wouldn't do that. I'm not like a pictures of myself kind of person unless they're really weird pictures,
This is
I think
exactly
you're the same
what
way.
I hate. I hate it because it forces everyone to take on these same behaviors, and it homogenizes how we all operate as artists and musicians. So it takes away your individuality because you're like, oh, I have to conform to what the algorithm says if I want views and audience. It's fucked up. I hate it. I fucking hate it. I don't like constantly posting pictures of myself either, or like talking to the camera. God, I fucking hate that so much. It's so cringy. The second I get in front of a camera, I get nervous and I just hate it. But so now, people won't hear my music or see my posts. It's like, why is that the determining factor? It's so fucked.
What I'm struggling with and trying to figure out and trying to do with stuff like this, right, is find a way where it's like, I can take advantage of the stuff. I can use it because it's here and I don't get to change that. But I don't do something fake that I don't want to do, that I don't want to spend my time doing, So I'm thinking, I talk to you, I talk to my friends who are doing this amazing music, and I don't have to sell out. I mean, selling out is kind of a good thing now, but I can't. There's some ways in which I cannot bring myself. I'm not going to do a sponsored ad. I got an email the other day about if I wanted to do an unboxing video of the Chippendales movie. That's the movie about the history of Chippendales.
Chippendales dancers.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Chippendales dancers. The movie about Chippendales dancers. I have nothing against the Chippendales. I have nothing against the movie, or the show that I've never seen. It just is not something I would do, right? So, but that's just me. I know there's people who'd be like, hell yeah, let's start doing sponsored content. Let's get some money,
Really noticed the way it's been affecting the music and art scene in terms of people's behavior. And I really hate it because everyone feels the need now to like dress a certain way, be a total narcissist and this and that. And it really detracts from the music and art. And I don't know, I don't like being told how to do things. I think what you're saying is like great because it's like, okay, I'm going to take this thing, I'm going to make up my own rules for the game. That's kind of always how I've operated too. It's like, I don't like competition with other people. I've always been the kind of person who's like, fuck this game, I'm not playing it. I'm going to make my own fucking game that no one else is playing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't ever look at that's another thing that if I had to pick one thing from social media that I dislike the most, it would be like counts and follower numbers, right? Because I don't want to know how many people like something. I think that no matter how mentally strong you are, no matter what fortitude you have to be swayed by that. You see something that has 1 million people like it and you go, gosh, this is a very popular thing. A lot of people like this. You see someone say something insane and you see that 1 million people like it, you go, God, this is terrifying. There's just one of me and there's 1 million of these people who think this horrible thing. And conversely, it's the same with music. Like you might hear something, go, oh, that's amazing. And then you see like some comments that say like, this sucks. And then you're like, am I something wrong with me? So
Yeah.
That's the part of it that I dislike. I don't really dislike the rest of it, how vapid it is, whatever. I can ignore that, but it's hard to ignore that when you see 10 million people love this and one people love something that was really important, that was really serious.
So frustrating.
That's hard for me.
Yeah, it's really bad for people who doubt themselves a lot or who are self-conscious or have dysmorphia or whatever. Like all these things get in your head and affect your output. And I feel like, I think back to when I was making amazing, really weird music when I was younger and wasn't really on social media. And I was just in my own little world doing my own thing. And it was like kind of untainted by the rest of the world and what was happening. And I kind of long for those sort of days again in some ways. I mean, I like the tools that social media has given me, but I also just like hate the way it makes me feel all the time, like constantly angry, frustrated, disgusted. Like it is hard to get over even if you try to ignore it. It's like I hate knowing everyone's thoughts 24/7. I really just don't want to see it.
If they haven't heard your music, if they haven't heard Void Vision, I really want them to go listen to the record that's out now and go see your shows. But what song of Void Vision should they listen to? They've never heard your music before and you want them to hear it.
It's kind of hard because I only have like one full length out and
I feel
a
the
few
pain.
little singles. I mean, I guess Sour and The Source are my two biggest here. People really like Everything Is Fine, Hidden Hand in 20 Years. I personally like Hidden Hand a lot. I don't know.
Those are great songs. They're all great songs.
But anyway.
Thank you, Sherry. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. I love you very much.
Thank you. I always love talking to you. Mwah.
I keep getting these pop-ups that say like,
Oh, man.
you're running out of time. You're running out of time. I'm like, God,
Damn.
fuck. Stop recording.
Recording stopped.
Did you hear that?
So we ran it a little too long about social media there.